Shalom, this is Rabbi Leynor. We're going to be continuing our lessons. Today we're going to be talking about Lucifer. The name Lucifer appears only once in the King James Version of the Bible. The only other translations in which it also appears in the same verse are those that are based on the King James Version, which happens to be, I think, a horrendous translation to begin with, because it reflects a lot of biases in the translation. The verse in which Lucifer is found is Isaiah, and this was also somebody at my job had talked to me about this whole verse about the devil and Satan and the whole thing. Hopefully one day we'll get into a longer discussion about those things. Okay, this is Isaiah 14:12, and they translate it as follows. This is King James. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Never mind the didst. Okay, now I'll read the Hebrew text of Isaiah. Okay, this is from Tanakh. This is what it says. It says, Eich nafalta mishamayim, Heilel ben shachar, nigdata la'aretz, cholesh al goyim. Now, the translation I have in my script here, this is one, right? And this is from Tanakh, which that's the three sections of the Hebrew Bible, Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketubim, right? How art thou fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground that did cast lots over the nations? Now here's another translation. How are you fallen from heaven, O shining one, son of dawn? How are you fell to earth, O vanquisher of nations? Okay, let's take a look at these. There's obviously a huge difference in the way one understands this verse, depending on whether they read the name Lucifer or star of the morning. When we look up the word Lucifer in the dictionary, the definitions we find are these. 1, a proud, rebellious archangel identified with Satan, O my Lord, who fell from heaven. 2, the planet Venus when appearing as the morning star. Okay, notice that the definitions above reflect the two different ways the verse is understood. In the word's etymology, however, there is an important clue. The word Lucifer is a transliteration, and this means letters from another language that are, you replace those with equivalent letters in a different language. It doesn't do anything for the definition, for the actual meaning of the word. It's just translating the name, transliteration of the name. So of the Latin word that Jerome uses in his version called the Vulgate, and the readers of Jerome's translation had a very different meaning for the Latin word Lucifer than the readers of the King James version would have 1,200 years later. This is what it probably would have meant to Jerome. Lucifer was originally a Latin word meaning bearer of light or light bearer, a Roman astrological term for the morning star. And if you've ever been out at night on a clear night, you're looking at the planet Venus, which really does stand out. Readers of Jerome's translation would have understood the word to be a reference to Venus as the morning star. They would not have considered it to be a reference to Satan. And that is another lecture. But not long after the King James Version was published, John Milton wrote his famous piece, Paradise Lost. And it was originally published in 1667. A second edition followed in 1674. And below are some notes from a course at Dartmouth University about Milton's poem. This is what they say. The first book proposes, first in brief, the whole subject, man's disobedience and the loss thereupon of paradise wherein he was placed, then touches the prime cause of his fall, the serpent, or rather Satan in the serpent, who revolting from God and drawing to his side many legions of angels, was by the command of God driven out of heaven with all of his crew into the great deep. Just a note. Angels malachim. They're called messengers. In Jewish tradition, they do not have any agenda. They are there for one purpose: to carry out God's will and deliver messages, to do whatever they need to do. They have no personal agenda. Rebelling against God, you have to be very careful with this, because you're creating a theological problem by saying something like that. If an angel is going to put itself up as an opposite to God, then God is not all-powerful. In Jewish tradition, we do not have this. Evil is not personified except in humanity. You know, we're the people. We create evil. Right? So there is no devil. And as I always ask people, you know, what couldn't the devil learn from us, really? I mean, human evil has outsurpassed anything a devil could ever come up with. I bet that this sounds a lot like what many Christians believe about Lucifer. And by the way, Satan is a position. In Hebrew, it's ha-Satan, the Satan, the prosecuting attorney in the heavenly host, completely and totally under God's control, no rebel or anything. Okay. When Jim Myers was doing research on the subject, he found another reference that's very interesting. It was found in the work of Shakespeare, King Henry VIII, in Act 3. The sweet aspect of princes and his ruin, more pangs and fears than wars or women have. And when he falls like Lucifer, never to hope again. Shakespeare's writings were very popular, and a number of scholars have argued that they influenced the translators of the King James Version in several places. There's little doubt that Dante's Lucifer, that chewed up sinners, and Milton's fallen angels played a much larger role in shaping what Christians believe about Lucifer than what the biblical text actually says. By the way, did you know who Isaiah was actually referring to in that verse, Isaiah 14:12? Right? How are you fallen from heaven, O king of Babylon? How are you cut down to the ground, you that cast lots over nations? And I hope you enjoyed this study, and will tell others to visit my page on the Biblical Heritage Center website. That's biblicalheritagecenter.org. Just click on my picture, send me your comments and questions. I would also appreciate your support of our work at BHC. Shalom.